Hello, welcome to Podnas. This is a sports show with a Southern flair. I'm Daniel Hawks. That's Jared Roser. And today we are previewing college football week 5. We're going to do a little bit of Saints Falcons, reveal the top play of the week. And also we have a little update from my fantasy league, which we'll get to later. So Jared, how are you doing? I feel much better. I did not feel great. But we persevere. So that's what I've done. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, man. You nailed the point. So part of me wondered if you were even sick or if you just took 3 days of some sort of pointing boot camp to make sure that you got this right.
I
And it's
mean,
glad to see that paid off.
that's where all my fever dreams were. It was it was with the point. It just kept doing that over and over again.
Until this morning when you woke up and said, I wonder what Zion's doing today.
So just before we get into stuff, Jared texted me today about like some stuff pre-show, and I got it right when I woke up. And the first thing it was like, what are we gonna talk about the last like tail end of this? Zion came out yesterday and said that he's going on a revenge tour, and that's just been on my mind lately this year for the Pelicans. So that was the first thing. Like, guys, I'm talking about like that was what it looked like in my bed texting Jarrett about Zion Williamson at a determinate time. This is can be on the internet. So whatever time you think morning is, that's what time it was.
Whatever time you think morning is, add 3 or 4 hours to that, and that's what time this was.
I'm a night owl, man. All right. Well, let's get into it. So first off, thanks to Tyler Eagles for coming in and taking the mantle for me. I really appreciate him. He's always a good time. You guys
He's
covered,
fun.
yeah, you guys covered what happened with LSU in the weekend, and we're going into this South Alabama game. LSU's playing USA, which is always fun to say. What do we think about it? I know it's a little bit more of a tune-up game, but it's going to be the first game without Harold Perkins on that defense. That was already kind of hurting. These LSU injuries are kind of piling up.
Yeah, I mean, I think watching how that defense plays in general, particularly that linebacking core without Howard Perkins for the first time, but also the secondary and really just the defense as a whole is going to be really interesting to me on Saturday because this South Alabama team is a team that has this season and has for the past several seasons put up points in a big way. I've had a chance to deal with them in some degree with their games against the Cajuns and against Tulane, and just knowing that they are an offense that gives a lot of opposing defenses some fits trying to slow them down. And so for a defense in LSU that was already having issues trying to put together 4 consistent quarters, and then you take away their top playmaker, how they handle this situation, knowing that next up in 2 weeks is Ole Miss, is kind of the big storyline for me to watch. I think it's a team that is going to come into Tiger Stadium and tick off a lot of fans with some first half points potentially. Certainly has the potential to do that. If the Tigers are able to stop that and really put together a full game and give the Jaguars trouble scoring, then that'll be really impressive for me at this point in the season. But how that kind of give and take and ebb and flow works over the course of 4 quarters is the biggest thing for me to watch.
Yeah, I would really like you kind of echo what you said. I would love to see them put together a full game, because even that Nichols game, it was like the Nichols was in it for way too long. So have LSU come in there and do what they're supposed to do. Just take care of business for 4 quarters, not 3.5, not 2.5, not 1.25, but 450. Yeah, I would love to see that. That's what I'm looking for in this. I think we can go ahead and start pick them off already and say we're both choosing LSU. Neither one. We're both unpatriotic this weekend. Both of us are choosing LSU over USA.
Yeah, and look, just kind of piggybacking off of some of what we were just saying, there's been a lot of comments. There have been a lot of comments from Brian Kelly about this team is close. It's really just a couple of things, clean up this, and they have a chance to be really good. And I think simultaneously it's frustrating to hear every week that sort of thing. If we can just clean up these couple mistakes, and from the outside wonder, okay, well, when do those mistakes get cleaned up? But at the same time, as much as there's a coach speak element to it and there's a frustration to hear similar things each week and even season to season, I do genuinely think that they are pretty close to being a pretty
Yeah, I would
solid
agree.
defense. And so what we see this weekend will be interesting. And yes, I agree. I do think
Well,
LSU wins. I think South Alabama has some big plays, some big drives that tick off some of the folks in Tiger Stadium, but that LSU ultimately wins and wins by a few scores.
well, even with UCLA and South Carolina, overall, especially second half versus UCLA, the defense played really well. It's just there's this like little tick of like, yeah, I'm going to take one play off. Oh, that's a 45-yard touchdown. And then gets the
Yeah.
team back in it, gets the team that we're playing a little bit of momentum, a little bit of a little bit of swagger going into the next, and then we have to deal with that again. I would like to see in a team that LSU is supposed to handle that, like they said, they just kind of take care of business. So the
And
spread on
and
this
look,
is 20.5. So go
um
ahead.
and to your point too, I don't think it's a matter of guys loafing for plays here and there so much as just a mental lapse on a play or overrunning a play or
Yeah,
something that it's not anything. I don't think it's anything to do with an effort dynamic. It's just mental miscues and being a little bit out of position here and there, and those plays ultimately burning them because someone's just not in the right place at the right time and you're playing against capable teams. You mentioned the spread. If we were about to jump to that, I think LSU covers by the end of it.
that's what I was going to ask. I was going to be
Yeah.
like, mention the spread just now. Jared, do you think that they'll be able to cover? But you already got there. This is what happens. See, I took a I took a playoff, so I'm trying to get back. I'm trying to get back into it. All right. So we both got LSU on that first game of the week. That is going to be 6:45 on SEC Network on Saturday. If you guys are looking to watch that, not in Tiger Stadium, which I personally will not be. So that's how I'll be taking in the game. So
Should
next,
be far better weather for folks that want to come out to Tiger Stadium than it was last week.
yes, yes, it's looking like it's going to be about 81, which is not the 97 last week.
It was miserable, and I was not on the field pregame or anything. I got there at halftime from the Cajuns and
Yeah,
Green
because you were
Wave
like,
game.
screw that. I'm not going to be out here longer than I have to.
Well, I was just scrambling. Usually, if I'm there at my usual time, I'll go down and kind of check out things from the field. But because I was
Right.
trying to double up games, I didn't get there till halftime anyway. But it gets so hot on that turf and in those stands. So just knowing how hot it was walking up to the stadium in the afternoon, I don't envy the folks that were out there for 4 quarters
No.
actually within the stadium baking.
Yeah, I felt somewhat bad for all those LA folks that came out there and then just came out there from their perfect 75-degree sunny days. It's like this is
Yeah,
what America deals with.
they're not built for
Hollywood,
that.
no,
Yeah.
no, they aren't. They aren't. But I can tell you it's a lot better. So I would much rather 75 and sunny. Next up, we've got number 4 Bama taking on number 2 Georgia. 6:30. It's the main game on ABC. This is like not the granddaddy of them all because that's a different game, but this is a big one. So, what are we looking at here? Georgia has not looked very Georgia-esque. Playing around with Kentucky for 3.5 quarters. Alabama, though, has looked Alabama. What do we think goes on here? Do we think the Bulldogs have enough to really show that they still are the best team in the country?
I'm going Bama.
You're
I
going
think
Bama.
honestly, I looked at this week's slate and thought this was a week that could end up with us possibly splitting on more games than any week thus far. And this one, I don't know who you're taking yet, but um, certainly an opportunity here. And I think Bama, maybe the second half of that USF game started to kind of put it together, maybe turn a corner and become the best version of themselves or take steps toward being, a team that we're looking at as not only a playoff contender, but potentially making some real noise in the playoffs. Um, I think you see a Georgia team that's a little bit banged up on the defensive front, went into the season and already didn't necessarily have quite the same expectations of some of the great Georgia teams, just a couple years ago. And so there's every reason to believe that Georgia is also very much a national championship contender in that mix this year. But I think that this game, an Alabama team that even through the strength of this Georgia run has gotten the best of Georgia more often than not, that this matchup kind of sets up well at this point in the season where there's some tide momentum building. Georgia's dealing with some things on its end, and I think this becomes a huge signature win early on for Kalen DeBoer.
All right. Hey, I'm going to go the opposite way because here's my reasoning is that elephants are scared of mice and a bulldog is very small. So an elephant is going to get scared of that small thing. And that's why Georgia is going to win. So it's super. It's a great. It's called analysis. If you haven't heard,
this
no,
sounds like someone's little sister picking her March Madness bracket is what this sounds like right now.
No, I honestly just think this Georgia team, I know they have struggled a little bit, but I do just have faith in Carson Beck in that unit to get it done. And really, even I know it was not the same competition, but when they needed stops, when they needed plays versus Kentucky, they got them towards the end. So I think that was maybe a little bit more of Georgia playing down to their opponents than actually Kentucky, than this Georgia team not being as good as we thought. So,
and for folks that don't remember our preseason, our college football playoff draft,
betting against each other.
Yeah, exactly. I have Georgia as a playoff team. He has Alabama as a playoff team, and we're going the opposite way in this matchup.
That's the way it goes. All right. It's from Rick and Morty. Don't worry about it.
Just further confirming Daniel is in fact a service industry guy, where Rick and Morty is the, I don't know, whatever the best show to ever be invented is.
I didn't say that. I just said it. I will say it's quotable, and I quote it often. Yeah, I do it often. Quote Rick and Morty, not what the song is talking about. Okay, let's keep going. Next up is Oklahoma State at Kansas State. Oklahoma State's number 20, Kansas State's number 23. Sorry, forgot to write that down in my notes. I was looking up at my ESPN thing to do that. Another ranked game on the weekend. It's going to be an 11 a.m. game on Fox. Very interesting. I would like to see the Kansas State running back, who I really like, Giddens. He hasn't gotten off to the best start. It's not a bad start, but it's not maybe what I thought. I maybe thought he'd be over that 500 to the 600 yard mark. He's only at 417 yards. I'd really like to see him get going. And if he does get going, I think it's a very easy thing to say that Kansas State can kind of control the tempo of this game and pull out a win. So,
yeah, I'm really torn on this game. I think there's a lot of interest to me in which team can establish the run better. And I think Kansas State actually kind of surprisingly to me a little bit has had more success doing that. And part of that's because Avery Johnson is such a talented runner at the quarterback position. But at the same time, Kansas State has also had the stouter run defense early on in the season. And there's just some interesting strength on strength type matchups in this game. I've waffled back and forth on it multiple times and have landed back on K-State pulling it out, partially because it is at K-State. And this series, the home team has won the last 3 and 5 of the last 6, the only exception being in that 2020 COVID year. And so in a crazy game between two teams where the home team has found a way to have the edge late, I'll stick with the Wildcats again this year.
All right, next up, we've got University of Louisiana. The Cajuns are going to Wake Forest to play. That game is 2:30 on ACC Network. Jared, sorry, man. Or do we? We're gonna have to start counting this now. Jarrett, I will defer to you on your breakdown for this game and then give my pick.
Yeah. Well, next week, if you have to miss a couple days and Tyler fill in so you can go to head nod camp or whatever to get the head nod
Yeah.
on cue with the points. I don't know a ton about this Wake Forest team this year. Just looking at some of their schedule early in the season, it does not appear that they are on par with some of the good Wake Forest teams of recent years. And I think that despite the Cajuns coming off of a loss this past weekend to Tulane, that they've kind of learned some things about themselves the past couple of weeks and have the ability to go on the road and be really pesky, a word that I know you love, to the demons, the demon deacons up there. And I'm going to go ahead and take the shot on the Cajuns going up there and pulling out what would be a really huge
Okay.
win for that program, even against a not particularly up Wake Forest team. I think that where Ben Wooldridge and that Cajuns offense is right now, and hopefully Draylon Washington getting back healthy in the backfield as well, that they're going to have a chance to take some shots and connect on some shots to Harvey Broussard and company downfield and kind of put some pressure on Wake Forest at home. And, hopefully for the Cajuns able to pull it out.
Well, I am gonna, since we're kind of like flip flopping, I think I'm gonna be the the hometown bad guy this week. So I'm gonna pick Wake Forest, just with it being in the ACC and a little bit more of a power, or in a power conference. I just usually will tend to lean on that unless I'm being frisky, and I got to catch up. So I'm behind you by a couple. I got a really good win last week by picking the Eagles out of spite. So
Unbelievable.
I know. I'm gonna go with Wake on this one. Next up, we've got the South Florida Bulls are at the Tulane Green Wave. This game is at 11 a.m. ESPNU. Tulane is coming off of a win after two closely contested losses. And then South Florida has been kind of up and down all year. Where do we think this one goes?
I'm going to take Tulane. It's their third.
Two almost Pac-12 schools, who like when I think of the Pacific Ocean, I think of South Florida. So
think of Tampa.
And the Gulf of Mexico. Those are the two. When I think of Pacific, those are the two bodies of water or land area teams. But yeah, you get it.
Just imagine the Pac-12 and Pac-12 media trying to prepare for hurricanes and figure out how to adjust
God.
Okay, we got to watch these schools out in the southeast of this country, hundreds of miles away. I'm hoping that
Hundreds,
this being
thousands.
I don't know miles, man.
From like, what's the only team left in the Pac-12? What is it, like Washington State?
Yes.
Yeah, that's like the upper corner of the left side of the country. And then USF is the exact bound. That would be like a 3,000 mile trip.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I was just thinking more from New Orleans, which like this probably still doesn't matter. I'm probably just wrong in general, but from
that's like at least like 1,700, maybe even a 2,000 mile trip.
Essentially, New Orleans to like California was what I was thinking. Just the West, the general Pacific time zone overall, which I don't need to look this up. It doesn't matter. I am hoping
mean, I would be down I've been down for some nonsense. It's been a couple days. So. Go ahead.
I am hopeful that this being the Green Wave's third 11 a.m. kickoff in 4 weeks, that they are prepared for this morning situation and to be able to start fast. They're also, they go against a team that has to travel again and come out to Yulman Stadium. And honestly, the Tulane fan base has done a nice job the last couple of years of showing up early for these 11 a.m. kickoffs. And so hopefully it ends up being a nice home field advantage for those guys. I don't think that the Green Wave played particularly well last week, other than, Mekhi Hughes was great and just some spots that they came up with some pivotal plays that swung that game. But I do think we've seen through those 2 losses and through the ability to navigate that road game this past weekend out in Lafayette, that they've shown what their potential is. And similar to what we were talking about LSU, if they can just clean up a couple of things from last week, that they're as good of a G5 team or G6 or whatever the hell we're at now team as there is in the country. And so I'm going to go ahead and pick them to take care of home, play better this week than they did last week, find some answers for Byron Brown, who's going to be really tough for them and for anyone who USF faces. But yeah, long story short, I'll take Tulane.
All right. Yeah, I'm going to do the same. Let's move on. Next up, I got 15 Louisville at 16 Notre Dame. This is going to be 2:30. It's only streaming on Peacock, which is so stupid. But
if you're keeping track at home right now in this episode alone, we've got Hawks, we talked Tyler Eagles, we talked about Night Owl earlier, and we've now got Peacock. We're just racking up birds. The Cardinals are in this game, so on and so forth. I don't know how many we can hit. This is the bird show.
We're not done. Okay.
Oh,
we're not even done. All right.
Yeah.
Actually, no, yeah. We only have one more left that I know of. Maybe.
I don't know. We're at least half a dozen birds.
I'll do a bird count. Yeah. We're at a half. Let's see if we can make it a baker's dozen, you know?
Oh, no. Are there that many birds?
Peregrine. Are there that many birds? Yeah, I think there are. Maybe. We'll see. All right. Yeah. So what were we talking about? Oh, yeah. Louisville, Notre Dame. This is one of our other ranked games for this weekend. Also on the other side, if you want to look at it, you've got Illinois and whoever they're playing. That's another ranked game up in there, but we're not talking about them. I wanted to choose this game. Notre Dame, since they lost to NIU, has, I would say, picked it up is a very light way to put it. Putting up 66 on Purdue and then winning 28-3 Miami at Miami of Ohio. I do kind of think that this is another one of those games, but I wanted to talk about this because I believe it's Tyler Shaw. The Louisville quarterback has been slinging it. Already has 8 touchdowns on this year. He's almost at 1,000 yards. That I think the defensive front of Notre Dame is so stout. All 4 of those guys I think are going to play on Sundays. But the back end I think can get hit up a little bit, as we saw with the Huskies of Northern Illinois. So I think it might be a little bit tougher than what Notre Dame has done the last 2 weeks. I don't think they're just going to roll, which means you probably should bet on Notre Dame just to roll. FYI, if we're keeping track of mine. But I think this game is a lot closer. I think you could say that Louisville. I would pick Louisville on the spread, which is what I'm probably going to do as a good bet. But I do think Notre Dame takes it to when it's all said and done.
I'm going to go with the Cardinals straight up. I mean, everything you said, the defense of Notre Dame slowing down Louisville's rushing attack in particular will be interesting, kind of forcing them to pass. I like what Louisville's defense did last week, stuffing the Georgia Tech run. And so I think that bodes well. And that if both of these defenses are forcing the other offenses to the air, that I trust some of the downfield playmaking of Louisville and some of the weapons they have on the outside. Ja'Cory Brooks has been fantastic. I think in a game where there is some strength in the box for both defenses, that I trust a couple more explosive plays by Louisville downfield to be enough of a difference maker and win this thing.
Hey, well, I hope I'm wrong, because y'all don't know this, but a sad Notre Dame fan in Chicago is one of the funnest Saturdays ever. It's just great. Because they expect it, but they're like Cowboys fans and Yankees fans and Lakers fans. It's like they just expect to win, and recently that just has not been the way things have gone. And when their expectations get broken, and this would break Notre Dame's playoff expectations, I think. It would be a chef's kiss, a little gabagool, you know?
I think after the last few years of LSU fans really having to deal with Notre Dame fans on Twitter because of the Brian Kelly hire, that there would be all of the excitement on the Bayou to have anything poor happen for Notre Dame on a football field.
I love
So
it. I love it. Well, we'll see what happens with that. Hopefully, I'm taking one for the team here. And Jared pulls out that win. Last game of our slate is going to be the Saints game. Saints are taking on the Falcons. It's going to be in Atlanta. Noon.
Six birds. Sorry.
Oh, man. Noon on Fox or Sunday Ticket if you are not in the local area. Listen, get the curse jar ready. The Falcons. All right. Hey, I'm coming back hard. I even keep this on the back of my phone just so that people can remember. I saw a Falcons fan out the other day. He was on crutches. I didn't do anything to the crutches, but he started talking smack. And I was like, hey, FYI, do you remember when this happened? And I showed him, he was like, come on, man, that's not. It went from jovial fun to going back to the worst moment in his life. And that's why I keep it on the back of my phone. I'm going with the Saints. I know I've been picking against them every week, but my body will not allow me to pick the Falcons. Also, I think last week was just a weird kind of wonky game. The game script got weird. It was such a defensive battle. And Jalen Hurts can move more than Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins right now, I don't think can move that much out of the pocket. So if you get pressure on him, he could make some mistakes. And we've just seen those skill players outside of Bijan Robinson not really produce. Drake London's come on late in 2 games, but has been kind of non-existent. Darnell Mooney's played real well. Shout out to him.
Tulane.
Yeah. But outside of that, this Falcons offense is not kind of what we thought it was. And I think a lot of that goes to that Kirk Cousins is still coming off an Achilles injury. That's hard to come back from, especially when you're damn near 40. So that's not something you just, and under a year, at least Aaron Rodgers had a full calendar year to kind of come back from this injury. And he's looked pretty good, but it's tough to do. So with that being said, that's why I'm going to take the Saints. And I think we find our offense again. I think that starts coming back this game as well, because the Falcons defense is not great.
The Saints are banged up right now. I think a big part of last week was having to adjust on the fly to Eric McCoy being knocked out of that game, Cesar Ruiz being banged up and trying to deal with that. And it is tough to adjust to that on the fly in real time in a game. It's tough to have Eric McCoy out for the next couple of months in general, but at least going into this game, there's been a week of preparation for it and just getting guys ready and some of the chemistry dynamics that go into an offensive line. And so I think that some of the issues that we saw this past week are not going to be as extreme this week against Atlanta. Plus, they're just not having to deal with quite the same dynamic of Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis being phenomenal as they were this past weekend. I might regret saying this because Dallas Goedert, after what I said last week of I don't care about the
we have no record. We have no record of that online, so you don't even have to say it. All right, I'll save you time right there.
So Kirk Cousins might burn me on this, but honestly, after the Monday night game 2 weeks ago, where the Falcons somehow pulled out that game against Philadelphia late, my biggest takeaway in real time for that was good. The Falcons are going to stick with Kirk Cousins moving forward, and that is going to give an opportunity for Carl Granderson, Cam Jordan, and company to get after a statue back there in a couple of weeks. And so I'm hopeful that this is a really long day for him with a good Saints defense getting after him and creating some problems.
And also,
I'm take the Saints.
Bijan's dealing with an injury too. So Bijan, I mean, no one's 100% after the week 1 of NFL games. But Bijan is dealing with an injury. So is Matthew Judon. So both sides of the ball, just like the Saints. Falcons are going through it too. I'm going to bet on the Saints to kind of take a game in Atlanta. Yeah, also, I just would like to say a couple weeks ago, I gave.
Oh, I thought you were just about to say F the Falcons again. I thought you were
Oh,
just
no,
waiting
no, no, no,
for a
no.
big
I
one.
already said that once. Kershar's getting up there. I gotta see. Actually, I have an idea for what we should do. We've been thinking about what we should do with the Kershaw money. Um, one of my fantasy leagues, if you play someone that gets a 0, you have to make a video of 30 seconds and explain why your team sucks. That happened to me when I played Rashid Shaheed a couple weeks ago. And the punishment is, if you don't make a video by the time kickoff starts on Thursday, you have to find a celebrity on Cameo for under $20 to make a video of why your team sucks. So I was sick last week. I did not feel like being on camera at any point before kickoff yesterday.
Can I lead into this? And were you about to
Yeah,
toss
we're about to do this. Go ahead. Say what you need to say.
And so now for our update on Daniel's fantasy team, we go to international superstar William Hung. William?
Hey everyone, this is William Hung. Daniel's fantasy football team is the worst. He plays somebody that scored 0 points. His team name is Neighbors Think I'm Selling Dope. He plays somebody in his fake football league and he still couldn't score.
I have 2 quick notes. Number 1, the joy for him of saying he played someone who scored 0 points was palpable. I really enjoyed that he cherished that moment as well. And also, I just wanted to clarify, Neighbors Think I'm Selling Dope. Is Neighbors spelled Malik's last name? Neighbors? Yeah, sure.
Yeah. And shouts to J. Cole. So shouts to J. Cole, shouts to Malik Neighbors. So I thought it was a pretty good one. So
both of those shouts will always play well with me. So yeah,
yes, absolutely. All right. Now that we're done with some nonsense, let's get into who was our winner for the top plays of the week. Jared, I wasn't here, so I'll let you take over. This was an amazing play. Go ahead. I'll let you talk.
Yeah, it's the play that I caught the footage of last Thursday night. Madison Prep on the road against Southside, playing over there at Como High School, and third quarter, Madison Prep trying to get something going against Southside, who the Sharks ended up winning that game. But a big throw downfield from Tylen Johnson in the general vicinity of Keon Robinson, who made a nice play to earn his little Hollywood nickname moniker. He goes up over a defender, makes a great catch through some contact, through some plays on the ball by the defender, and then on his way down after the phenomenal catch anyway, has the wherewithal to kind of quick right jab to the defender, puts the defender on his tail, and then takes off for the long touchdown. And so huge yak. That is the part that
hold on, Jarrett, 1 second. The kid mossed the dude, then pushed him on the ground, looked at him like he was James Harden, and ran to the house. Curse jar.
The play was great. And
it was amazing.
In real time, I was tweeting, Keon, that kid has a family. You can't do that to a guy on a it's a Thursday game. He's probably got to go to school tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
And you're doing this. And just, credit to Keon for the full well-rounded nature of that play, of the timing and ball skills and awareness and physicality and all of the things that went into it. It was a really impressive play. Yeah. I'm sure Southside will take the win on a Thursday night regardless, but a phenomenal play by the Madison Prep Junior.
Absolutely. Hey, congratulations. If you would like to submit a play for the top play of the week, we will be looking for those. You can reach out to Louisiana versus all y'all on Jarrett on Twitter, hit us up on the YouTube, DM us on either Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, or PODnas_LA on Instagram. Any of those things, that's where we will be posting those. So you can vote on these each week. It's a little bit of wonky week because of the boot camp that I had, the pointing boot camp I had to go to. So we'll be up to our regular status on that next week. But please interact with us. We want to hear and see all the plays from around, so we can get more plays in here, so we can see the great stuff that all the kids around Louisiana are doing. So
yeah.
Is that it? Yeah. I thought it was pretty well said. You looked like you had a note for me, but
no, I got nothing. I mean, as Daniel said, just keep up with everything going on in Louisiana versus all y'all. A lot of high school and college coverage every week, obviously. And so looking forward to another weekend of great games, and we'll be back here early next week to chop it all up and
share, comment. We want to hear from you guys. That is all we got for you this week. PODnas out.
And it's a ticket talking margin for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. I've been comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it.